committee to order. This is held jointly with the Committees on Local Government, Finance and Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to welcome in particular our colleague from the House of Representatives, my colleague in the previous Congress, Congressman Martin Romualdez of Leyte. Welcome, sir. Later we'll ask the COMSEC to recognize our various guests from different agencies. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, we have two sets of bills this morning. Today would be the second day to hear the first set. That's on real property valuation at the local level. We'll tackle that later. But in the meantime, it's probably timely to tackle the second set. That's for exempting persons with disabilities from value-added tax. This is an approach taken by many countries as an affirmative action towards the PWD sector. And the approach varies. Some countries prefer to give subsidies. Some prefer to give incentives. So certainly the committee will take into account all possibilities. But I think having attended many events with PWDs, certainly many of the laws with respect to PWDs are not respected. Access, building code, things like that. No, it's part of the raising of awareness in the country. So without further ado, we'll tackle those bills. But first, let's ask the committee secretary to recognize our guests. And thank you once again for coming, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Congressman Romualdez and Director General Dasil. Our guests from the DOF, we have ASEC Solidad Emilia J. Cruz. Good morning, ma'am. From the Bureau of Internal Revenue, we have Attorney Nina Asuncion. We have the Executive Director of the National Tax Research Center, or Executive Director Trinidad Rodriguez. From the Bureau of Local Government Finance, or BLGF, we have Mr. Jose Arnold Tan. From the Philippine Association of Local Treasurers and Assessors, Inc., or FALTRA, we have Mr. Oliver Lucero. From the League of Provinces of the Philippines, we have Ms. Angelica Sanchez. We have from DSWD, Protective Services Division, we have Ms. Camia Ferrer. From the National Council on Disability Affairs, we have Deputy Executive Director Mr. Mateo Lee Jr. together with Mr. Randy Calcenia. And also from Tahanan Walang Hagdan, its President, Mr. Manuel Agkawili. He's also the Chair of the Philippine Foundation for the Rehabilitation of the Disabled, or PFRD, and AKA Pinoy, or Alyansa ng May Kapansanang Pinoy. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, COMSEC. Of course, let's give a first word to foremost advocate of this bill, or some of these bills from the House, Congressman Martin Romualdez. Sir, please.
Esteemed Chairman of the Senate, Sani Angara, of course, our honorable resource persons, the COMSEC and Senate staff. In brief, our bill, House Bill 1039, basically grants persons with disabilities an exemption from the value-added tax and, when applicable, discounts too. This bill is aimed at equalizing the economic and social imbalance between those who have greater social opportunities and those, obviously, who have less. As the late President Magsaysay once said, to those who have less in life, they must have more in law. So this is the principal objective of the bill, to give more benefits in law to our citizens with disabilities and put them in a more proportioned scale than where they are now. I would like to urge our lawmakers to please pass this bill to address this inherent social inequity and inaccessibility being borne by our brothers and sisters who are physically disadvantaged. While those in our government that have to oppose this for various policy reasons, we feel that the opposition, while founded, is something that we can actually traverse, in as much as the opposition is basically that fact that this is a revenue erosion measure in the minds of the DOF. However, due to the numbers of the stakeholders that will benefit, we feel that this would be negligible. The 1.5% of our total population are those with people or persons with disabilities. It's a small number, especially for those who will be actually availing of this exemption. We feel the number will be far less, and due to the diminished purchasing power, we feel that this definitely is a remedial measure to get back people with disabilities on a level playing field with those who have more in life. And basically, we want to streamline the benefits given to the peoples with disabilities as those of the senior citizens. So, in short, we urge all to support this bill, and we thank you all for that support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman Romualdez. We'll hear from some of our resource persons here. Can we hear from the DSWD? We have Ms. Camia Ferrer of Protective Services. Can we hear your comments on the bill? On the bills, rather.
We already submitted a letter.
Yeah, briefly summarize your position, ma'am.
Yeah, we support, sir, the passage of the bill.
Okay. That's thank you for your brief statement. Well, let's ask the DOF, no? What the where is USEC Paul? I'm not used to seeing a
Yes,
different face.
Yes. There's also, it's not really giving less importance to this,
Yeah.
but there's also another, here at the Committee of
What
Ways
bills
and
are being
Means,
heard
yung sa
in the
TIMTA, and I think
TIMTA.
there's already of the fiscal incentives. So we have
okay.
to...
Right. Oh, okay.
I
That's
have
good. That's
to
good. At
come.
least the bills are moving in the House.
Yes.
Sige, go ahead, ma'am. Ano pong position
Siguro,
ng
yeah, with respect to, first and foremost, I hope we will not be, it should not be misconstrued as we do not want to support the PWDs. It's just more of this mode of assistance. So as related in our position paper, primarily, of course, there are two reasons, no, why it's not, for us, we don't think it should be through the tax systems, because of the administrative problem, which may be encountered, and possible and difficulty in monitoring. And secondly, of course, is as pointed out, the impact on the revenues. So instead, what we've suggested, as we've suggested before, is that a targeted subsidy may be more efficient, no, because it will really ensure that those, I think it's like the CTC, no, conditional cash transfer. So, but it's more that similar to that scheme. So I think we believe that we've always articulated a position that probably that's a more efficient way of providing subsidy to the PWDs. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ASEC. I just looking at your submissions. The DOF cites a revenue loss of 1.12 billion. Is that correct? Whereas the NTRC is citing between 2.4 to 3 billion. Can you explain the discrepancy between the figures? Yeah. Oh, sige. Anyone who wants to go ahead, either. We just want to be clear on that. Oh.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll just speak about our estimate.
Yes, go ahead.
The assumptions we have. Actually, we use the family, the FICE,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
Family Income and Expenditure Survey data, wherein we take 5% share of the PWDs on the total FICE expenditure, household expenditure.
5% is the estimate of the population who have disabilities.
It's actually more than, sir, than the actual percentage is about 2%. So I could say that maybe this is a little bit overstated. So another assumption that we did in view of
Why did you use 5, Director Rodriguez?
This is for, I think, 2010. So we really don't know the actual figures nowadays.
2% is 2010.
Yes,
And
sir.
you extrapolated 5% for your
just
estimate.
a rough estimate,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. And then another assumption we did is that 40% is vatable.
Mhm.
And another one, 50% is vatable. So that
Okay.
results to a 2.4 to 3 billion estimate.
Okay. So it could actually be as little as 1 billion to 1.5 billion if your assumption is adjusted.
It's lower.
If okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Would you agree with that, Asek? With what Director Rodriguez said? What are the assumptions of your figure?
We use 2013 VAT collection as of January to November, no? And then we use, and then based on that, we use the ratio of expenditures on goods and services as proposed that will be affected, no? As a ratio to total expenditures, which is around 12.9%. So we're saying out of that total VAT collection of 514, around 12.9% or 71. There's around 71 million, billion portion of the VAT corresponding to the proposal, and then out of that, then we apply the ratio of the PWDs to total population, which is around
what?
1.57%.
So you used 1.57, they used 5%. Okay, that's the
I think that's
that is the basis
difference.
with the different assumption, the difference in the figures.
And for the Senate, we're updating this figure.
Okay. How about the DSWD? What's your estimate of the PWDs to the population?
We use the 1.57%, sir, equivalent to 4 million, 1 million.
1 million, 1.446 million. Okay, thank you. Sige. BIR, I suppose your position is the same as the DOF, no?
Yes, Your Honors. We're citing the difficulty of administration of the incentives
Could you
and
explain that a little?
revenue laws.
But
Primarily,
you're already doing it for senior citizens, di ba?
yes, Your Honors. But most of the time we're having problems with the submissions to the establishment by the establishments asking for the basically claiming the incentives. And then we're having difficulty with limiting the incentives to the senior citizens only. Sometimes the incentives are being used by other members of the family who are not the senior citizens. So basically, we're thinking that it may also be the same in the case of persons with disabilities. There might be abuse there. So on the administrative difficulty, basically, that's it, Your Honor. On the revenue loss, I think the DOF has already provided for the estimates of revenue forgone.
Say there will be abuse. Di ba klaro kung may disability? And it's personal to the person with disability, di ba? It will not be given naman to someone who's
Yes, Your
saying
Honor.
he's
Medyo,
purchasing for...
ano po, it's primarily getting ahead, but basically basically with senior citizens, we have seen cases where there are a lot of instances when it's extended to not the senior citizen, basically. So we're thinking that this might be possible also with the PWDs.
How much do you estimate yung abuse? How much do you lose? Sa leakages, sa senior citizens, what's your estimate?
We don't have the data for this, Your Honor, but we'll try to see kung meron pong agency that has done a study on this.
Because they don't give the benefits unless you have an ID naman that shows your age. It doesn't have to be in the case of the senior citizens, it does not have to be the local government issued ID. It's any ID that would show. I think you can even show your driver's license nowadays, no? So sa akin, parang there's a lot of safeguards din against abuse. But are there any safeguards that you can think of to put in the bills? Well, if you have any suggestions, just submit it to the committee na lang. No?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah. We also invited the DOH, the DOTC, PhilHealth, the Drugstore Association of the Philippines, Board of Airlines representatives, because of the discount provisions, but they sent their regrets, unfortunately. So let's go to the PWD sector. Can we go to Ms. Joy Garcia of Tahanang Walang Hagdan?
Hello, good morning, everyone. I would like just to cite a little bit about the disability-related costs that the persons with disability is incurring. That is, disability-related cost is the wheelchairs, the medicines, and all of these things. And no government subsidy is giving that. Now, what we're trying to ask from here is that in the World Health Organization, 10% of the population is persons with disability. So meaning to say that if 10% of persons with disability would buy and have this exemption from VAT, then that would help a lot. Because what we're seeing here is that if you see the population of the elderly or the senior citizen compared to persons with disability, more or less, senior citizens are more in numbers. What I would like to, the miss from BIR, I think, what you're referring to is the abuse. So there are many abuse that is happening right now, and I would like to say that, Honorable Senator Angara, that would be part of your how to control it. Because right now, what we're doing, everyone here in the persons with disability have their IDs. So they are now being screened by the Department of Health who will be having this kind of discount. So those are the things that I am referring to. And I would like to add, yes, the subsidy is very much welcome, yeah. Especially when persons with disability in other countries are having this. But if that would happen, then we would like to welcome that. But for the time being, the VAT is already there, and that's the only way that for now we can have as an incentive. So why prevent us from having that? You can have all the incomes in other ways, but persons with disability have the right also to have this privilege because we are the minority and we are not given a chance to work in the mainstream. We like our people in Tahanang Walang Hagdanan, they're just in a sheltered workshop. So how will they be able to pay for the VAT when all of these things are not within our privilege? So I just hope that the senator would give us and the rest would give us a chance to prove that persons with disability can also work, but at the same time can be given benefits. That is all I can say.
We hear from Mr. Agkawili, who is also connected with Tahanan Walang Hagdan, but is also, I think, the chairman of the federation, no? Of PWDs. Sir, go ahead, please.
Well, we support the passage of this bill that will, kumbaga sana, ibibigay din yung 12% VAT na hindi na dapat kasama. Unang-una, dahil sa senior citizens, nakalagay na po yan. Pero parang discriminatory act ho yan kung hindi rin natin ibibigay sa mga kapansanan. As a senior citizen, I know that really BIR is having a lot of problem on abuses that they perceive to be abuses. Kasi po, pagka bedridden yung senior citizen, ang pinapupunta pamilya, asawa, anak, para makabili ng gamot para sa kanilang ama o lola na senior citizen. So, hindi po naman siguro ganong kalaki ang abuses as perceived, no? The other thing, if we're only discussing here the 12.5%, meron pa pong isang bill dito na magbibigay ng 25,000 exemption. I think we share the views that my friend here, Matt, will articulate concerning the 25,000 on the bill of Senator Bamakino. I think, for the information of the Senate, living abroad, I have experienced this special tax exempt or deduction from income. For instance, they allow you an additional 7,000 to 8,000 deduction on your income tax for persons with disability. Principally, ito po ay para makatulong sa may kapansanan dahil merong mga dapat gawin na hindi nila kayang gawin. Kagaya po ng sinasabi nila, yung halimbawa mayroong kang leak sa iyong roof, hindi mo naman kayang umakyat para ayusin yon. So, you have to hire services of others. I would like to be able to turn over, if it's possible, with the agreement of the chairperson, Senator Angara, to Mr. Lee to articulate some of the position that we have consolidated as a sector through the National Council on Disability Affairs. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Sir Guili. Go ahead, Mr. Lee from the NCDA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Noli, for giving me the assignments. But the thing is, if you analyze the comments of the Department of Finance and BIR, it would seem that this is just very usual for government agencies, both as an income collecting agency on the basis of decrease in revenue or difficulty in administrative processes in implementing the 20% discount. We would like to tell to this body that the 20% discount is not really helping a lot of persons with disabilities, because most of the people with disabilities are not earning people. And if you can only give buy the services if you have the money. So only those people who are at least earning a minimum wage could also avail of the 20% discount. So that is not entirely the 1.57% of the total population. It's based on the census of 2010. Again, the assumption, the opposition of the government agencies in this issue is based on assumptions. We are not included yet in the FIES, the Family Income Expenditure Survey. There is no result yet at the FIES to determine how many persons with disabilities living below the poverty thresholds, or having even in the poverty APIS, no, alleviation survey. We are not still included as a sector in that survey of government. So there's no basis for saying that 5% in the FIES are people with disability. That's not an accurate statement coming from the opposing agency. Second point, with respect to the population, actually, estimates of the WHO now is 15%. That's just an estimate, but the census report is only 1.57%. And as I said, it's not all of the 1.57% could avail of the 20% discount. To go to the bills, we support all bills filed now before the Congress, House of Representatives, and the Senate. The only innovation that we would, amendments or introduce provisions that we would like to consolidate with the representative sponsored bill in the House by Congressman Romualdez, we would like to consolidate also the bill introduced by Senator Aquino and Senator Recto. The bill of Senator Recto with respect to the House bill is almost the same. But in the bill of Senator Aquino, in Section 32, he introduces letter I. Persons with disabilities who are engaged in substantial or gainful or business or occupation and lives independently should be entitled to an additional personal exemption of 25,000 pesos. Well, we support this provision, but with an amendment by stating that we drop the phrase engage in substantial business and living independently. We'd rather have persons with disabilities who are engaged in wage employment should be entitled to 25% 25,000 personal additional exemption. The reason being is that all persons with disabilities, as I said, there are only few numbers who are working. As Ms. Joy Garcia mentioned, have additional costs. So if you're earning as a wage employee, you're just earning enough to survive and not earning to live decently, to have a decent life, because you spend for medicine, you spend for wheelchairs, you spend for caregivers, etc. So if you're just a wage employee, we need an additional 25,000. It's just like you have a personal additional exemption for children, and you have the 5th children, because it's only limited to 4 children. I think a 25,000 additional to a person with disability who is a wage employee is a good incentive to alleviate certain poverty issue. So that's the point that we would like to introduce as an amendment of Senator Aquino.
I just want to clarify, Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir.
You want to put the phrase as acting as a wage employee,
Yes.
rather than you want to substitute it or add it.
Substitute.
So, but I think that the thinking behind that is if a person with disabilities is working from home, siguro mas maganda na isama, na wag i-substitute, di ba? So it applies
sige,
to
sir.
it
Isama.
applies whether you're a small business person or an employee. You get the deduction. That's my
We would agree to that.
I would think that's more favorable to the sector, di ba?
Correct. But the thing is, how do you?
May datos ba kayo? How many PWDs are employees?
We have government employees with disability and some of the private companies with disability, but these are very few.
Mga ilan ho? Mga ilan sa estimate ho?
15,000.
50?
15.
Those are in government or in private ho?
Both.
That's combined, combined figure na ho yun.
Combined figure. Mas marami po yung nasa private sector kasi hindi ho lahat ng person with disability nakapag-aral, hindi po lahat nakapasa ng civil service. So, yun ho ang screening factor. Maybe in the government, you have a very strict screening factor. Yung QS, yung qualification standards, you have to meet for the position. So, that's something that, although there is a law now reserving the 1% for government for people with disability, I hope that would increase the number of people with disabilities employed in government.
Ang next question ko, sir, is dun sa 15,000 na employees with disabilities, ilan doon ang minimum wage sa estimate ninyo? Because if you're a minimum wage employee, you cannot really avail of the exemption kasi hindi ka magpa-file ng income tax return eh.
The most of the private sector employee with disability are in the self-help organizations, meaning they are not in the wage employment they are on a self-employment program. Just like cooperatives, like Tahanan and other cooperatives of people with disabilities nationwide.
Yes. Yung tanong ko ho, sir, is dun sa sinabi niyong 15,000 wage earners in both the government and the private sector. Ilan ho dun ang nasa minimum wage ho?
Maliit lang po, baka 20% lang po nasa sa minimum wage.
So 80% would be earning above the minimum wage and subject to income tax. That's
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Sir, you're raising your hand, Mr. Kawili. Yeah.
I just would like to point out that many of the wage earner on the private sector are receiving more than minimum wage because most of them are employed in the BPO industry. So yung po, kagaya lang po ng mga employees sa call center, yan pong mga employee niyan are receiving very much higher than the minimum wage. So, kagaya po sa JP Morgan employs approximately 885 persons with disability out of their total complement of 10,000. Now, related to that, in some industries, there are a lot of parents with children with disability, and they are also receiving more than the minimum wage. Like in the case, I go back to JP Morgan, mga 900 to sa 10,000 nila, paisama mo yung, halimbawa yung 882, mga 1,700 po yan ang magkakaroon ng impact on this bill. Just one private corporation yan.
But do you have the aggregate, sir? An estimate of... that's very useful information, sir. Pero do you have... something that could guide us as to compute basically the revenue impact?
It's very difficult because government does not have that statistics. Although, marami rin pong employed sa BPO, kagaya ng tinatawag nilang EPIC, English Proficiency in Conversation, which is done through the internet. Now, they are working at home and being paid anywhere between 125 to as much as 180 pesos per hour. Pero hindi ho nagpapahid ng income tax yun.
Pero walang employee-employer.
Wala hong employee-employee relationship. They're contractors.
Right.
So we have not really been able to establish the statistics, which if we go by Republic Act 7277, that should have been established by the Department of Health. They are mandated to be the one to develop the statistics, but to this date they have not.
Okay. We'll let you finish up, Mr. Lee.
Last point, Mr. Senator, in Section 32, Section 33, Senator Aquino added letter B on SB 2713 regarding the exemption of benefactors. We would like to add in this provision of Senator Bam Aquino inclusion of parents, relatives of persons with disability, and guardian. No, relatives may be up to the 4th civil degree of consanguinity, so that those really living with the person with disability and caring for the people with disability could really have the availment of the 25,000 additional exemption, especially the parents. What is the impact? BIR or Finance will oppose certain provisions like this. But if you try to assess in the long term between providing services, government to the persons with disabilities, it's much more expensive to maintain an institution or to maintain a rehabilitation centers for government rather than giving the support to persons with disabilities and their families in the long run, making them more productive and contributing members of the community, because they will be able to engage themselves in more economic activities for participation in the mainstream of our society. So I think we will be encouraging certain support direct to the these people with disabilities themselves and their families, so that it could directly improve the quality of life of these people, eventually leading to participatory and productive citizens of the community, rather than a charity sector of the government. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Salamat, Mr. Lee. Mr. Calcenia, you're also with the NCDA. Would you, no more additional comments? Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else care to comment? Would the League of Provinces have any comment? You're here for the valuation bill, no? Kayo po, wala na akong comments. No comments on this bill. To the author, any other comments?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We're very, very glad that our stakeholders are here to articulate for themselves. And without sounding presumptuous, I'm also glad to have the members from the DOF, the BIR, and the NTRC here before us. They've stated the policies of the respective agencies. What I can see in their eyes, their compassion in their hearts. And the concerns that they have raised, while founded on fact, we feel are easy to overcome. And I state the revenue erosion that is contemplated, as we can already see, is a very, very modest, if not negligible, figure. And in fact, the figures right now are even a moving target. But due to the situation of our PWDs, they are really not in a position to fully avail of the benefits and the exemptions that we contemplate because of the realities of their situation. The problems on the administrative aspects of the bill, I believe, will be easily overcome because we feel and we know that government and the bureaucracy truly want to help their brothers and sisters with PWDs. That is the mandate of all public servants. More so, when we talk about the abuses, we feel, if at all, these are very, very much of an exception. And as our resource people here from the PWDs have already stated, these incidents wherein there are others who avail of the exemptions or the discounts or the privileges may not be the person with disabilities. It is because, again, of their situation, the peculiar situation. I too had a father who was not in a position to go to the drugstore, to go and pay for bills, to acquire a wheelchair. We would have to do that on our own. We, the family, guardians, so we understand that the seeming abuses on its face are really not the situation, because we have other people who have to take care of our brothers and sisters with PWDs. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm very confident that we can get substantial support for this measure, because we would also like to credit not only the chairman here of the Ways and Means, and as well as the chairman of the Ways and Means at the House, because you're very, very aggressive, you're very, very dynamic, and your assiduous approach in revenue-generating measures. So in other words, we know for sure that this committee is in good hands in terms of making up for whatever possible revenue erosions that could be contemplated. These are negligible to what this committee and that we can all do together to support PWDs. I thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the kind words, Congressman Romualdez. Ako, I tend to agree with the points made na we must balance this with the societal needs. No? Sabi nga nila, the more advanced the society gets, the more it should be solicitous of the needs of its minorities and disadvantaged sectors. It's a sign of progress of a society, how it treats its most disadvantaged sectors. What I want to ask the DOF is, does your revenue and the NTRC, yung revenue loss estimates ninyo, kasama na ba dun yung bills on deductions? So can you compute that? So at least we know how much. But I tend to agree with Congressman Romualdez na yung between 1 to 2 billion. Yeah, we have to balance that with our yung mandate to help the disadvantaged, no? And for the information of the body and the observers here, ladies and gentlemen, yung mga bills on land valuation naman will generate revenue. The estimate is anywhere from ranging from, depending on the bill and its provisions adopted, between 5 to 15 billion additional pesos at the local level, which will relieve the national government of its burden of subsidizing some of the LGUs. No? So can we ask the DOF, if you don't have that computation now, and the NTRC, to come up with a computation, since we'll be consolidating these various measures anyway, and we'll also be consulting different agencies. But you're raising your hand, ma'am. Go ahead, ASEC.
Thank you, Mrs. I just want to express a thought now, so I was listening, but I don't really intend to engage into a debate, no, because if I understood it correctly, it was pointed out by Mr. Lee that most of the PWDs that are not really do not really have those more or less the income or financial capacity to, with respect to buying goods. So our basis for VAT may be on the high side. So with that, we were just thinking, no, and maybe that could be considered, as I pointed out earlier, maybe a targeted subsidy would be a more efficient way, because if it's a target subsidy, so more or less you're sure that everyone gets it, even if you're not earning or in a position to buy those goods which are subjected to VAT, and unfortunately we don't have the data, and maybe we don't know the population of those really who are earning, no? So maybe even if we pass this law, so we don't really know if most of them will enjoy from the 25,000 additional exemption. But with a targeted subsidy, of course, we need more data on that, no? Then you're sure that even though the less privileged, in terms of income, will be afforded that assistance.
Yeah, maganda yun in theory, ASEC, no? That really to give a subsidy, because you don't want, you want a good VAT system is comprehensive and does not admit of that many exemptions, no? But in other countries kasi, the revenue agency is also the agency that's empowered to give the subsidy. Whereas in the Philippines, it's not the DOF which is empowered to give the subsidy. So, while maganda nga yung sinasabi nyo, what happens in the meantime, di ba? There is no bill to give a subsidy. So, and the lack of data that you mentioned, that will also militate against giving a subsidy. Kasi hindi mo matarget di ba? You don't have the data, so you cannot give the subsidy. So, di ba? Parang chicken or egg problem tayo Meanwhile, yung mga sektor natin, nahirapan sila, nararamdaman nila yung problema. So, naintindihan ko yung point nyo from a point of view of maybe an economist or a policy maker. It's better to give a subsidy. They do that in Singapore and other countries. But they have very precise information about their taxpayers. And at the same time, it's the agency that gives the incentives or doesn't give the incentives is also the agency that gives the subsidies. Dito, hiwala yung DOF and DBM. So that's our problem here, no? So whereas the DOF is always in favor of giving subsidies, it actually does not have the power to give the subsidies. Yun ang difference, I think. NTRC.
Mr. Chairman,
you
I think
after,
that's the real issue is on the definition of PWDs. That's why there are different agencies have different estimates, because different appreciation of what really a PWD
would constitute a PWD.
is.
Well, let's tackle that issue, no? If that's an important issue, can we address to the?
It's a moving definition.
Yeah, but if it's put in the law, it's not a moving definition. That's the purpose of the law, is to provide stability. So let's what is your definition of PWD, and what definition would you consider a PWD? I think we have to take into consideration here conventions or any international treaties and practice at the at the level of the UN, because we're of course we're parties to various legal instruments, no. So we'll go around the table again and ask people what the proper definition is, no. But it's a moving target at the present. But we in Congress, listening to the experts such as you, have the power to keep it a stable target, so to speak. No? Do you have any input on that point?
Concern really is what happens if you are now considered as a PWD. Remember that this is not just physical, but also emotional or psychological impairment. So if one is considered a PWD now, what happens if he or she recovers? Is there a means by which the NCDA or the DSWD or will there be a way by which they can monitor each PWD who avails of the proposed exemption?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Lee. Yeah.
I'd like to call the attention of the Finance and BIR on the definition of persons with disability under Republic Act 7277 and under the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability after Article 1 of the Convention. On 7277, it is a restriction. Physical, mental, sensory, intellectual. For long term. Even the convention also talks about long term. So meaning this is a permanent in nature, in a sense. Lifetime po yung disability. And therefore, if you say that it is, you recover, then hindi ka po disabled nun pag makaka-recover ka pa. So, you know yung distinction. And that is the definition, operational definition that we're using until now. Although it's an evolving concept, but the law has made the definition set since 1992 and the convention Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities when we ratified that in 2008. So, yun po yung ating dapat unawain na definition.
Yeah, we have a definition, as you mentioned, under Republic Act 7277, Section 4. That's
Yeah.
right. Has that changed? Has that been? Has anything happened to change that, or to expand, or narrow it? Okay, so in that case, can we ask the DSWD? Is that still the accepted definition of PWDs?
Yes, sir.
Is there any move to include them in the CCT? PWDs?
We are planning to do that, sir, because on the previous years, I guess 2012, we included them 10% of the population of the CCT. That's MCCT, sir. But now, on
What is the M sa MCCT?
Modified.
So, sino nasama doon sa modified? Ito yung dependents, di ba? Pati yung students, etc.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Including all the yes. And then for the 2016, we're also planning to include the sector, sir.
So, what if you're planning to include them? Could you give us the data you have that you're working on? Ano yung mga datos ninyo doon?
Actually, we're still in the planning.
You're still in the
phase.
process, the planning
Yes, sir.
process.
But
okay.
we're doing it now, and we are hoping to implement it on this 2016, sir.
So, when you submit the 2016 budget, nandun na yun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's around June or July, no?
Yes, sir. We're planning it now.
Okay. Yes, Miss Garcia.
I just would like to highlight or stress out yung pong sinasabi ng DOF and BIR. With regards to the VAT, meron po kayong binibigay na ceiling. That is 1,300 per week. 1,300 per week ang pwedeng sa grocery po na pwedeng makuhanan ng discount na 5% nga lang yon, tapos babalik pa yung VAT. So most probably sa 1,200 na basic goods, umaabot lang po siya sa 65 pesos, more or less. So, dinideduct ng SM. So, what I would like to say here is that yung mga discount po na yan na binibigay, meron na po kayong mga control measure that it would not be abused. Plus yung pong sa mga what do you call this one? Yung pinipresent po sa medicine, meron pong persons with disability ID din, plus may picture po, and plus may authorized na representative lang. So, I think there's already control measure there. And plus po yung sa CCT, MCCT, I would like to add sana that it would be more on persons with disability, individual, not for family, because not every person with disability have a family. Yun po yung gusto kong ipaabot sa inyo. Thank you.
Salamat, Mr. Siam. Sir Nolly, yeah.
Doon po sa sinasabi ni ng DSWD yan sa CCT, the last discussion we had with DSWD, sabi nila meron silang 90,000 families already with children with disability. Unfortunately, for as long as the decision to make who should go to school is left in the hands of the parent, hindi ho nila ipapadala yung may kapansanan. This is the same problem we have with the Department of Education, where we are telling the Department of Education there are 2 million children and youth with disability who are supposed to be in school. But right now, the figure is only 106,000 are in school. So where is the almost 2 million that are supposed to go to school? So similarly, I think when you're drafting this, please consider that it should be clearly indicated in your new guideline na dapat ipadadala sa eskwela ang may kapansanan. Kung gusto nyo talagang mapasali ang may kapansanan sa programa nyo. One other thing I'd like to mention, Mr. Chair, is magkakaroon po tayo ng problema pag in-increase natin sa wala na yung VAT. Kasi ngayon pa lang may problema na kami sa interpretation ng BIR. Kasi po yung mga anak yung mga may kapansanan na autistic, yung Down syndrome, yung mga ADDH, at saka yung cerebral palsy, ang nagdadala po ng card nila para bumili ng medicine ay ang magulang. And I hope this is not considered again as an abuse, because hindi ho talaga po pwedeng yung Down syndrome o yung autistic child ang pupunta at bibili. Yung pong mga magulang, ito po ang ikino-complain sa amin sa federasyon ng group ng mga Down Syndrome Association at saka yung Autism Society. So, let's consider that in the implementation. Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, that's well taken, no? About the point about education. Siguro you should take that into account in giving the subsidy. Kasi di ba yung CCT natin may requirement tayo na kailangan before the family gets it, kailangan number 1 yung checkups, di ba? Tapos pangalawa yung number of days. I don't know if it's observe nyo talaga strictly yung requirements na yun, but I think it's resulted in an increase in enrollment. So in the same way dito, siguro pwedeng yun yung carrot nyo, yung incentive to incentivize the parents to send their kids to school. Can I just ask, ano yung reason kaya tingin nyo na hindi pinapadala yung parent? Hiya ba yun or is it sa gastos? Ano sa tingin nyo, sir, yung rason kung bakit halos lampas 1 milyon na hindi pumapasok?
In our experience, most of those who will go by type of disability, no? Pagka po sinabi nating physical and disability, pag yung pong bata dinadala sa eskwela, pagdating po ng 10 taon na yan, hindi na kayang buhatin ng ina. Kasi po walang assistive device. This is why we're campaigning na kung po pwede, maging liberal din tayo sa pagbibigay ng assistive device like wheelchairs, walkers, and things like that. Pagdating po sa hearing impaired, wala po tayong facility talaga sa Department of Education to be able to come up with the right curriculum for those who are hearing impaired. And we do not have enough teachers who are qualified to work on sign language in order to communicate with them. This is why in the bill which we're asking the Senate again to pass, which is authored by Attorney Pia Cayetano, and inclusive education, we should have centers that will help them out. Pagdating din po sa visually impaired, yung traveling po nila and being able to move around. Kailangan kasama rin ng mga magulang. Pag kasama po ang magulang at bata pa yan, na hindi na ho nakakapagtrabaho ang magulang.
Tama ho.
So, these are part of it. Now, when you talk about Down syndrome, autism, they need special school to be able to go into it. And this is the reason why I believe we ask you, Senator Angara, to help us pass this bill on inclusive education so that we can at least increase the number of children with disability and youth to go to school. This will improve a great deal the statistic we have on education. Maraming salamat po. And I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. Well, we filed that bill also, yung inclusive education. Remember when we saw each other
Yes.
sa plenary,
Yes.
you gave us a copy and I...
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And tama si Sir na, yun nga, kahit dalhin sa eskwelahan, minsan nahihirapan pa rin sila because only 99 municipalities have special education centers at the primary level and only 53 at the secondary level. So talagang nagkulang ho tayo. So for me, that's another reason to give the additional benefits, no? Kasi talagang nagkulang tayo dun sa serbisyo natin sa kanila. Yeah. So I think we'll leave this for now. And with the request for additional information from the various... I think you're raising your hand, no? Ms. Ferrer. Oh. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Let me check with the MCCT po kung ano po yung program, specific program. Kasi meron po silang program for the year for the persons with disability. And we will feedback na lang, sir. Plus po yung sa 2016 plan for the PWDs for MCCT. And gusto ko lang po mag-comment, sir, kasi though hindi po na mainstream agad yung mga children with disabilities natin sa bansa, meron po tayong devolved program, sir, at yun po yung Tuloy Aral Walang Sagabal, where we have mobile teachers to visit the children to school and prepare them for mainstreaming of education. So, isa po siguro yun sa isang alternative.
Ano yung program na yun?
Tuloy Aral Walang Sagabal, sir. It is already
can you give us how it works?
Yes, sir. So, yung pong mga children with disabilities na hindi pa po ready to attend to a formal school or a special education, may modules po na piniprepare ang mobile teachers para po matanggal siguro yung hiya nila, maging ready for schooling. And pero ano yun, gradual yun, sir. So isang bata, isang module ang ginagawa nila. Pero yun nga, sir, siguro po isa rin po dapat na ma-advocate din sa mga local government, which we do in DSWD, na ma-advocate na i-adopt talaga, though medyo costly talaga siya kasi nga roving siya. So lahat ng children with disability na hindi po nag-a-attend, pupuntahan talaga and kailangan po talagang bigyan siya ng tutok.
Who's the lead agency dyan? Yung DSWD or yung DepEd?
DSWD, sir, in coordination with DepEd din po.
Okay. Sige. We'll request information on that program, no? And ano yung progress. Pero sana nga ideally masama rin yung, kasi nagbibigay na tayo ng scholarships, di ba? Sa educational assistance sa mga dependents of CCT.
Let me check lang, sir. And
that's in the budget already, di ba?
Yeah, pero
sana masama rin natin yung dependents na mga...
We will take note of that, sir.
Yeah, kasi andun din yung andun din yung theory na dapat may malasakit tayo dun sa mga nahihirapan, di ba? Yeah, so I think we've had a very good discussion here. We'll just await before we finalize any committee report, we'll await the various submissions of information. We want to consult also other agencies like the Department of Trade, the Department of Education, as to any other provisions that we might include na makakatulong din sa sector natin. No? Yeah, sir, you have any, before we wrap up the discussion?
I just would like to, perhaps the body should know and most government agencies should realize na ang estimate po ng most foreign groups that are working here, out of the total population ng PWD here, about 94% are coming from the poorest of the poor. And this is the reason why it's very difficult to try and get them, especially in terms of education. Karamihan po sa kanila, yung mga batang may kapansanan, lalo na po sa baryo, hindi po sila talaga ilinalabas ng magulang dahil po sa paniniwala na sila ay may kapansanan na anak, pinarusahan sila ng Diyos. Now, this attitude is really a very difficult attitude sometimes to work with in terms of getting them to go to school. And the program that was mentioned, that's why I brought this up, by DSWD that they're conducting is essentially bringing them out of their own home to go to school. But their program is quite limited, and this is where we wanted this augmented by the law on inclusive education. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very good comment. Any other comments before we wrap up the discussion on this? Sir? Okay. Thank you very much for coming. We'll take a 3-minute break before we resume on the land valuation. And anyone who's here for this bill, you can go ahead. Thank you very much for your presence. Salamat, Congressman Martin Romualdez. Thank you. Okay, let's resume the meeting. Can we ask for silence in the room so we can concentrate on the bills under consideration? One of the authors of the bill, our colleague, the chairman of the Committee on Economic Affairs and Housing, is here to join us. He's the author of Senate Bill 1930, which is one of the versions or bills on real property valuation and assessment. So we'll give the floor to Senator J.V. Ejercito, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. As one of the authors of Senate Bill number 1930, of course, I'm here to sponsor this measure. Of course, the relevant facts are that the real property is the country's most important resource and the biggest financial asset. Even the World Bank study indicated that 50 to 75% of the national wealth is contained in land. Real property has the largest potential contribution to national income for funding economic and social developments. Land and real property sectors only contribute a meager 6.6% to the gross national product for the past years. So this bill aims to address certain problems that we are encountering right now, and some of which are outdated real property values, multiple valuation systems, and chronic inadequacies in tax administration, such as lack of assessment tools and absence of technically qualified personnel, among others. So, Mr. Chair, we're hoping that with the passage of this measure, we would want to institute reforms, and of course, the passage of this bill is expected, of course, to increase and improve the efficiency, of course, of our local government financial and assessment capabilities. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Salamat, Senator JV. Alam ko sa San Juan, walang problema sa collection kasi they computerize the collection and you raised revenue during your time. So, but nevertheless, we thank you for those your remarks. This is actually our second meeting on this bill, and we've heard many of the departments and stakeholders at the last. But allow me to first call those who have not yet commented. No, we've invited the League of Provinces of the Philippines, or the LPP. We have Ms. Angelica Sanchez with us today. So, ma'am, can you give the feedback of the LPP?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Ejercito. Basically, the League of Provinces support the passage of this bill. In fact, this has been our long advocacy. However, we have some little reservations as to the membership of the Central Committee. We have some reservations as to the inclusion of the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines as the representative of the local government units due to their, let us say, lack of legal personality to represent the LGUs. We would, because basically, under the, executive order creating them, they are the umbrella organization of the local government unit associations and leagues. So if it is a matter of involving the leagues of local governments, yes, it is a matter for ULAP to handle. However, when we talk about local government units directly, as particularly the municipalities, the cities, the provinces, and the barangays, we need to talk directly to the leagues, to their respective leagues. So may we humbly suggest that to expedite this, may we humbly suggest the League of Provinces and the League of Cities to be members of the committee in lieu of ULAP. Although if it would not be too much to ask, we would also recommend the League of Municipalities. But nevertheless, Your Honors, the League of Provinces does not pose any major objections as to the provisions of the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sanchez. That's a good comment so we can have it as inclusive as possible. No. I've also instructed the Secretariat to get feedback, not just from the League of Provinces, League of Municipalities, League of Cities, but also from the Councilors League, the Board Members League, the Vice Governors League, and Liga ng Barangay, to really make sure we have a fully consultative process. Since they will also be affected actors by these measures, no? We also invited the LMP and the LCP, but they sent their regrets. So thanks to the LPP for coming today. Can we go ask Mr. Lucero of the Philippine Association of Local Treasurers and Assessors, or FALTRA, for your comment, sir, please?
Good afternoon po. Actually, Mr. Kiambao is the president of the FALTRA. I was just called up last night to represent him. With the instruction that this, by the way, we already have submitted our position paper to the committee. What he was saying was, we join with the proposal of Senator Ejercito regarding this, that there's no need to create a national valuation authority. Instead, we may just strengthen the functions of the BLGF, especially on the assessment services. Because the regional office of the BLGF, they have the function of technical assistance, both for the treasury and assessment service.
Who is in favor?
And that's the context of the FALTRA stand on this matter. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That's well taken, sir. It seems that the majority of opinion is behind the idea to create a real property valuation service rather than a NVA, and it's probably the less expensive option also, no? So, and we can achieve the same goal. So, having taken into account all the feedback, is there any other comments? Would any of the agencies wish to nag-comment na kayo, no, sir? Mr. Tan? You commented last time, di ba? You were present at the last meeting. And maybe we'll ask ASEC Cruz, any amendments or changes to your position? Or you're supportive still of the bills, no? Yeah. We'll ask your assistance in drafting, coming up with the final version, no? The consolidated version. You're also not in favor of an authority, no? You're just in favor of the current, BIR. Is there any issue as to continuity? I have here in my notes that the NTRC said there might be a vacuum if the LGU fails to revise their SMVs or schedule of market values after 5 years. Is that an issue still?
With the BIR, Your Honors, in our suggested amendments, we provided there that with regard national taxes or transactions involving national taxes, national internal revenue taxes, the present valuation will still be continued to be used. Yeah.
So that will enable you to collect more.
Still, there won't be any vacuum, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. NTRC, any others before we... Anong essence nila? Okay na to. Yung property. Yeah, we're in receipt of your position paper of the DOF signed by Yusek Beltran. and we'll take that into account. No? But any other things you want to put on record before we wrap up? Go ahead, Director.
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification on Section 23C of SB 1930. Is it the intention really that in the case of city and assistant city assessors and municipal and assistant municipal assessors for Metro Manila, the appointee shall be chosen from the list of at least 3 ranking eligible recommendees within Metro Manila? Sa Metro Manila lang po ba? So, ibig sabihin, yung cities in the Visayas and in Mindanao and even in Luzon, sa Metro Manila lang po ba?
That's Section 23.
Within Metro Manila.
But don't don't A and B provide for outside, for the cases outside Metro Manila? What's the difference, ba? What is the desire of the NTRC regarding this?
No, I'm just following, Mr. Chairman, the other 2 provisions that in the case of provincial and assistant provincial assessors, it will be 3 ranking eligible recommendees within the region. In the case of municipal and assistant assessors, 3 ranking recommendees within the province. So in the case of city and assistant city, it is indicated in the bill that the 3 ranking eligible recommendees will be within Metro Manila.
You're of the view that it should be widened. It shouldn't be limited to Metro Manila. Is that your opinion?
A question to the proponent, Mr. Chairman, if the intention is really to get recommendees from within.
Well,
Metro
clearly the
Manila.
intention is to limit it to Metro Manila because that's the wording of the bill. But what is the thinking behind your question? Do you have a suggestion?
For, let's say, city in Mindanao, I think somebody from Mindanao.
Yeah, that's covered already by letter A, di ba? 23A. So in the case of provincial and assistant provincial assessors and city and assistant city assessors, the appointee shall be chosen from a list of at least 3 within the region. So there you have a wider selection. In the case of, is it, Metro Manila, parang region na rin yan di ba? NCR. So in the case of city and assistant city assessors for Metro Manila, you're choosing from Metro Manila. But in case of cities outside Metro Manila, it's 23A that will prevail. And you'll
Letter
get
C
it
is for
within the
Metro
region.
Manila.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, you read it. 23A is within, for a city outside
The city
Metro Manila.
outside
Yeah, that's
that
23A.
statement, sir. Okay.
Oh.
That's
So,
correct, Mr. Chairman, because Metro Manila should be considered already as a region.
Correct. So, ano yung point nyo, Director?
Sorry, I did not see that it is the city assessors were already considered in letter A.
Yeah, so yung question nyo,
Okay
covered
po.
by 23A yun.
And then in 33, sorry, in section 37, I think we missed out section 196 in the repealing clause in the case of NIRC. Let's add section 196. This is
To be
on
repealed.
DST.
To be repealed. What does section 196 say?
This is on DST on conveyance of real property.
Can you read the provision, ma'am? Can you read the provision?
This make mention, Mr. Chairman, of the fair market value determined in accordance with
Are
section
you talking about
60.
NIRC or LGC? Local Government Code.
NIRC, Mr. Chairman.
Stamp tax on deeds of sale and conveyances of real
196,
property.
yes, sir. So in the latter part of the first paragraph, it make mention of the fair market value determined in accordance with section 6E of this code, meaning this is the fair market value, either the one prepared by the Commissioner of Internal Revenue or the market value prepared by the assessor.
That's the last paragraph.
Yes, sir.
When it appears that the amount of the documentary stamp tax payable hereunder has been reduced by an incorrect statement of the consideration any conveyance deeded, the Commissioner, Provincial or City Treasurer, or other revenue official from the assessment rolls or other reliable source of information assess the property
No, sorry, sir.
of its true
It's
market
the
value.
first paragraph, the last 196, immediately after first para po.
First paragraph.
Yes, sir.
All conveyances, deeds, instruments, or writings other than grants, patents, or original certificates of adjudication issued by the government, blah, 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 blah. There shall be collected a document. Anong i-repeal dito?
Yung 6 is, sir, there is this mention of the fair market value
Based on the
determined in
consideration
accordance with
contractually
Section
paid for such.
6E. If we are now if the proposal now will be, the SMB will be used as the basis for national and local taxes, this should likewise be modified accordingly.
Mhm. So 6E is to be repealed. What should we put there? What is your proposal? What's your proposal? You're not repealing 196 in its entirety. Di ba?
88, ano ba?
Yeah, anyway, I think that can be, you tackle that lang. Our staff will just talk to you and get your proposal. But I don't think you can repeal Section 196
I think it's
in its entirety. No, you have to.
not in the same manner as 88B, will not 88B. Ano ba yun?
Amended or modified accordingly.
Modified,
lang. Yeah.
amended or modified
Okay,
accordingly.
that's well taken, Director. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Sanchez.
Yes, as to Section 23 of the bill, may we propose that that the bill contain a certain time frame for the DOF secretary to come up with a endorsement in order to prevent a vacuum at the local government level?
What's a good time? What's a good period?
Maybe 30 days, Mr. Chair. I think that would be fair enough if the DOF would agree to
DOF?
that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But take note of that, ComSec, and let's, after discussing it with the agencies, what the proper period would be. Any other comments? We'll be finalizing a version, so we'll be getting all your inputs. There's still time to submit additional comments. No? Any others? If not, we can suspend already in the meantime. Senator JV? No more? Okay, no more comments, huh? DOF. All right, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. Baka sabihin nyo, panay bawas tayo sa revenue. Hindi naman. May mga dagdag din. So, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.